All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you to those of you who smashed that like button before the stream started. I was just telling Passport OG it's already got 15, so he's very popular. He's got a following. I'm sure he's a lot of other people's favorite content creator besides mine. But yeah, so tonight I've got a special guest, Passport OG. And well, I'm going to center this tonight. Shout out to Dr. Tia San Johnson. I'm going to center this since we are in Black History Month because a lot of his content it's layered. So it's talking about passports and Black men potentially going overseas, but he also weaves in pop culture and he also weaves in history. So one of the things that I admire about his content is it's very layered. It's very layered, like a cake. So whoever is there, let me know who is there. Please, yeah, let yourselves be known, and please comment. And I have questions for Passport OG. And if you have questions throughout the stream yourself, you can ask them. You can super chat them. And I'm going to make another announcement. You see the tickers going there for my Cash App, my PayPal, and my Zelle and my Venmo. There's a reason for all of that. But yeah, this is going to be a fun discussion. I'm going to play the intro, and I will see you on the other side. Thank you for being here. Durante Swing, you are the first one in. He says, shout out to Passport OG. And guys, this is history for myself because I think this is the first time. No, I did a stream with someone from the Netherlands once. That wasn't live. That was a pre-record, but this is my first time doing a stream with someone from Japan or Southeast Asia. All right, I'll see you on the other side of the intro. This is short. Please smash that like button. Please consider subscribing if you are not. I'll see you on the other side. So, where did this topic come from? So I'm going to admit that because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. Black History Month 2025. It might not be the Black history that you like or want to hear about, but it's Black history nonetheless. So, where did this topic come from? So, I'm going to admit that because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. So, Black History Month 2025, it may not be the Black history that you like or that you're used to or that you're even expecting, but it's Black history nonetheless. My last stream here, should I say on my last stream here, I gave Kevin Samuels his flowers, and a woman came into the chat, interestingly, and she said, "This is Black history." Because for those of you who don't know, the late Mr. Samuels, while some people applauded his work and said that he did good work and he was doing a good thing, he infuriated quite a few people, quite a few ladies, quite a few guys. And so I could see why that sister would come in and say, this is Black history. But number one, he's deceased. And number two, that was something we had never seen before. And that's going to come out tonight in my discussion with Passport OG. And that's that we're living through history right now. This is what this whole aspect of men going overseas, the conditions here in the United States, what the Black community has evolved into. He talks about that. Let me pronounce my words. He talks about that a lot in his content. But this is all history. This is all different. It's different from the world that my parents and my parents peers and siblings grew up in. And they talk about that. We talk about that around the holidays. One of the things that they talk about is, there are fewer young people here at Thanksgiving. There are fewer children here at Christmas. Well, the environment's different, and a lot of things are different. Relationships are different. The community is different. The way the genders are getting along is different. The economy is different. The whole world is different. So it's given rise to circumstances that they don't understand, that many of us have had to learn about on the fly through means that many people don't approve of. I'm talking about these dreadful online spaces, these men's channels, the black manosphere, the white manosphere, writers of all kinds. All of this is history. All of this is new. And the conditions have changed in society, in the black community, in the world, where all of these things, that have precipitated all these things. Passport OGs in the back. I'm going to bring them up really quickly, really shortly. A quick announcement. You see the tickers going there. Guys, I'm a published author. This is my book, The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story. I'm not going to give the whole spiel tonight, but it's a basketball story, but it's a story about many of the same things we talk about in these digital spaces, these mail spaces. It's a manhood journey. It's about having to learn to navigate the world in less than stellar circumstances. So this is the hardcover. There's a paperback. There's an ebook edition. Those are on Amazon. For my viewers here, I think the price on Amazon for the hardcover is $35. For the paperback is $27. I'm going to be selling hard copies on my online store. For the hardcover, $10 off. That's $25. For the paperback, $7 off. So that's $20. If you are watching this and you want a signed copy, you could make a payment through any of those methods there, but make sure you send me your address through any of my social media handles, which are here. I'm going to make this announcement at the end here. Yeah, you can use that email address right there. There's my X handle. Now that's not Twitter anymore. That's X. There's my Instagram. There are numerous ways to get in contact with me. But make sure if you purchase one, make sure you send me your mailing information so I'll know where to send it to. All right, with that, I am going to welcome up my honored guest. And first of all, for all my critics and all my critics out there, I'm not in having this discussion. My channel has more of a scholarly angle now, and it's more about the guest and the topic. And I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm communicating the information and this topic because I think it's history and it's what's going on, and it's very, very relevant in our world today. So with that, everybody, let's welcome up the one and only Passport OG. Passport OG, welcome.
Hi gozaimasu, danwa-sama.
The only Japanese word I know is domo, which is thank you, right?
Yep.
Yes.
It's informal thanks. Yeah.
It's informal thanks. Yeah. Pretty much every science lab I worked in, there was a significant Asian contingency in there. Mm-hmm. And in my graduate lab, one of the postdoctoral scientists was a medical doctor from Japan. And we became pretty close before he left. And I remember my last day I saw him, we actually hugged. So we did become close, and I held
that's actually rare. Once. That's right.
Yeah.
That's really rare for Japanese. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. The physical touch for adults is very rare. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And I held his baby, and I think that was held his baby one time. And that's the one word I learned was domo. But the song says domo arigato, Mr. Roboto, so you know that. Thank you for the super chats. Michael Ross, thank you for the $10 super chat. Much appreciated. And Money Motion, thank you for the $10 super chat as well. Everybody, thank you for stopping through and listening to this discussion. All right, Passport OG, I want to respect your time. Though it is early in the day where you are,
It is. It
So
is.
you
It's
probably
8:30.
it's 8:30
8:30 in the
in the
morning.
morning.
I see. It's in the morning, and I see outside your window. It is. It's got to be. Are you Central or East EST?
This is EST.
Okay.
So
Oh, that's
it's
right. You're Buffalo-ish.
no, I'm in the DC area. I'm in the swamp.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah. You're straight up 14 hours. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Passport OG, you saw the questions. As I've stated in your comment section, you're one of my favorite content creators. I've nicknamed you the GOAT for
Oh,
your your
stop.
your, your presentation and your topic areas. No, seriously, man, seriously, it's you know we'll talk about it. But you saw the questions, so we'll start with this one. We're gonna work around to passports and stuff like that. Where does the name come from? How did you come up with Passport OG?
Okay. Well, I use the passport one because that's going to tick the algorithm. I know how that works. That's part of it. But also, I mean, in if I do the math correctly, it's going to be less than 4 calendar years. I will have spent half of my life in Japan, half of my life overseas. So, I've been overseas for a very substantial amount of time. So, when guys are talking about going overseas and I'm going to get girls, and there are layers to it because they're the kind of girl you'll get depending on where you go and all that stuff. So put the two together, and it's going to have to be something related to passports and something related to being overseas for a long time. So I don't really consider myself an OG, but you can see the gray in my hair means something. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I get it from.
Okay. And you know what? I'm realizing I'm going to slip this in here because I forgot. I guess I got so excited during the opening words. You said you spent more than half your life overseas, or half your life
Well, it in 4 years. I mean, if
in
it's
4
an
years.
algebra problem, it would be, was it my age plus X equals this year, and then the other problem would be like this plus this equals your age, right? So pretty much, I've been overseas for more than 20 years. I can tell you that. So
Okay.
plus
Okay.
gray in my hair, do a little thinking, you can probably guess my age.
Okay. We're in the same cohort. So I'm just going to say, everyone, for context, I was thinking leading up to this stream that this passports have been a major discussion,
Mm-hmm.
at least in my circle, starting probably about 20 years ago, or maybe 15. One of my exes, I remember her being the first one to say, well, I want to travel.
Yep.
That was important to her. I didn't grow up thinking about traveling overseas. And then before I found the online spaces, the Black Manosphere being one of them, but other spaces, I remember one of my friends at home. He became enamored with the thought of going over to Africa to find his African queen.
Mm-hmm.
and he was seeing something here in the United States that made him lose faith in the relationships here and the pairing here. And I remember looking at him and thinking he was crazy. Who do you know in Africa? Why are you going to go to Africa? So there was that. And then for a number of years, it hasn't happened recently, but meeting a number of ladies, one of the first questions they would ask is, do you have your passport? Okay, which was odd. My family, again, we didn't really do we didn't really do any overseas travel. I mean, the furthest we would go is drive to Canada. And so that it's interesting how this whole the wiggly line this whole thing is taken, and it's to this point here where men are now going looking for
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is they're looking for. And then this last point, and we'll get back to the questions. I was thinking that I have a cousin who I am somewhat close with, and when I was home maybe about 2 years ago, or maybe in the last year, she brought up Passport Bros. Okay,
Okay.
I wasn't talking about it, but she brought it up with a bit of angst and a bit of heartburn and a bit of those passport, those guys. And it was interesting because based upon her station in life, I'll just say that without telling all of her business, but the number of children she has and just
Mhm.
her marital status, which she's not married. It was interesting because I thought to myself, okay, well, men of means, and this is not a shade at my cousin, but men of means who would be able to do that, I don't know that you would show up on their, I'm saying this to myself, okay? I don't know that you would show up on their radar, but the perception of it, as we'll discuss, is who are you? Who do you think you are to go across the ocean or to the Caribbean to find somebody?
Uh,
So it, I know that this whole thing, it's creating feelings of what, we're not good enough anymore, or you think you're better than us, or you think you're going to find something better wherever you're going. And then the question, that you hear all the, well, they're just going to find women who are poor, who don't have any power. But I forgot to say that in the monologue, everyone, before I brought Passport OG up here. So, well, I'm sure we're gonna get to some element of all of those.
mhm.
All right, Rugby Jesus, thank you.
Oh, that's my dude. Rugby
Okay.
Jesus.
He says, average 50-year-old brothers here and a new subscriber. Thank you. Passport OG's content is the absolute best. See?
Oh, thank you, sir.
He
Thank you,
blends
Rugby
witty
Jesus.
nostalgic gems with my youth. There you go. All right. So we know where the name comes from. In as much detail as you are comfortable sharing, talk about your background and where you're from.
Well, so I'll start by saying I have an amazing father. My dad is amazing. He grew up in the rural South, and he has a master's degree, so he is tippy top. But while I was his son, I saw the world around us, and I grew up in church. I was a church kid. Like, I was a I was quintessential Bible thumper. I was a kid sitting in front of the revival. I had a dictionary, and I had the King James version of the Bible, both in hand, listening and just taking it all in. And just growing up, seeing the world around me not match the world that I was being told in church or what I'm seeing. If you're a scientist, which, I mean, I'm by trade, I am a scientist. If you're a scientist, you're going to notice trends. You're going to notice things that don't match. And I think it was right around 15ish when I remember raising my hand in Sunday school and asking the Sunday school teacher, "Are you telling me that 1 billion people in India are all going to Hades because they aren't Christian?" And she basically said something to the effect of, "Well, if they don't have an opportunity, then it's unfortunate." And I just thought, it it, it has to be more than 250 million people, or whoever's in the West, 500 million people having an opportunity to have a chance at the afterlife. And then just, the story one by one, Santa Claus, and how love works, and work hard and get rich, and all of these kind of myths that you're fed don't necessarily add up to the world around us. So I think right around, I was junior in college, and I was really working super hard as an engineering major, right? And I woke up one day and I was thinking, am I doing all of this so I can end up in a loveless marriage and shackled with child support and a woman who doesn't really love me? Because that's what I didn't see, this true love that I was seeing on the Disney Channel around me. I saw opportunism. I saw people feeding on guys that were productive. So you become a productive guy, and then all of a sudden, all of the young ladies who didn't really give you an attention start looking at you now. And I just thought, there has to be more than that. So I made my decision to change schools. And then a couple of years later, I made the decision to come overseas. And I've been, I guess, kind of doing that ever since, really. So I guess, did I cover my background? Did I leave anything out? I mean, I did a
Yeah. So
homestay as a high school kid. So
you did
that's
what?
part of, I did a homestay in Japan as a high schooler. So that kind of
Okay.
triggered my interest, right? And I studied Japanese in high school. So I kind of had that path kind of sitting there in latent, I guess.
So
So
you were a STEM guy. You going, did that have something to do with your science training or your science aptitude, or? Was it a
Not
sort of
necessarily.
what do you call it? I forget the term for it when the students go over. Anyway, was it just a special opportunity?
Oh no, it was just I was in an area that was I think it was right during the Olympics or right after the Olympics, and a lot of companies are trying to just kind of I guess raise their profile. So it was Oki Telecom. I'm not sure if you're aware of them, cell phone maker, and they sponsored it, and it was just an opportunity to just stay in Japan for 2 weeks as a 15-year-old. And I think that was probably the I guess the foundation of just realizing that we're global citizens. Like you go overseas and you see McDonald's, you see Disney World, you see homeless people, you see everything you see in America. It's just speaking a different language. And it's kind of the beginning of just realizing, we're not just Americans. We're global. We're Earthlings. And then that's kind of the beginning of me changing my perception of all of it, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that is something when you go to another country, you start to see that, yeah, okay, we're sharing this planet with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about, yeah, the 50 states. Okay, so I heard a lot there. It's interesting. Dr. Thunder shouted his father out too. You were sure to shout your father out. Were you guys particularly close? You just want to make sure that the men are getting their
Oh well, look,
just due.
this is the way I see it. If my father were born Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
he would be honored in a fashion that would be in accordance to the Japanese standard. I mean, me and my dad are close. We talk often. You can tell I don't have any ill will at all toward I love my dad.
Okay.
But just in our space, in our culture, there is just different, and so he doesn't necessarily get the kind of recognition and dare I say respect that would be equivalent to if he were the same guy in an Asian or I mean even in African culture. So seeing that, that also motivates me. So
okay, so guys, yeah, I was thinking exchange student. For some reason, I was thinking work share, but no, that's
yeah, I was exchange student.
kind of in the work world. Okay, so I heard a bunch of things there. So it sounds like you grew up going to church. I did too, but it sounds like you were questioning things early on. And you were a STEM guy, and you started noticing some of the relationship dynamics, the male female relationship dynamics. Okay, before we go on, how are men treated in Japan? You said your father, if he was in Japan, he'd be it sounds like he'd be revered.
Well, I mean,
or how are men treated
without a doubt.
in Japan?
Without a doubt. I mean, men are treated in Japan like they're the people that make the society go. I mean, if you're a guy who is waking up at 5:30 every morning and you're coming home at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and you have a traditional wife, then she's going to understand how hard your job is. And she's going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and make your lunch for you. And she's going to have your breakfast sitting on the table so you can wake up and eat your breakfast and then get going and have your cup of coffee. And when you open your bento box, you're going to see a woman that woke up at 4:30 in the morning caring about the balance of what colors and which vegetables and the presentation of your bento box, and if you might show it to your coworkers, and if it's going to be of a standard that's going to make her proud. Like that's all a part of it, right? Or at least traditionally. I mean, the young girls here probably aren't as traditional as maybe their mothers or grandmothers, but he would get something akin to that, and that's just with his wife. And of course, there would be people referring to him as Sama or San instead of his first name, and just there's an overall level of respect that would be in accordance to what the work he's put in, right? And
Yeah.
I would rather be a part of a a society that, even if it, as an outsider, if you can get a level of respect, even in just, them being polite, I'll take it over, you ain't nothing. Who you think you my master? Like, come on, dog. Come on, man. Like we can't be listening. We cannot be listening to music all of the time. Sometimes we have to open books. And if you open books, you learn stuff. And you learn stuff and you don't do the same. I don't know. You want to learn more stuff. Let's just put it that way. So people that learn a lot of stuff and accomplish stuff get respect. Or supposedly they're supposed to.
Now, do Japanese wives do they work, or are they stay at home Stepford wives?
Oh, well, I have a woman that I worked with, and she's Miss Yoshimura, by the way, and she is like amazing. She's like a powerhouse, right? She's like one of the best workers in the organization, and she's married, and she has like 3 sons. And this is a woman that's coming into work at 7:30, 8 o'clock every morning, waking up every single morning at 4:30 to make her bento, her lunchbox, her 3 sons' lunchboxes, making their breakfast, and then rushing home at 6:30 to make their dinner. And she says, "Yeah, it's just part of the job." And I don't think that that's the average, but I think it's elite because she's super competent and she's fine with it. That's her lot in life. So you have a spectrum, but you also have the expectation. If you have a guy who's doing that and he has a locked in job as his wife, that's kind of sort of part of your job. And you're going to have to deal with your in-laws looking at you saying, your bentos aren't up to snuff, or even your parents saying, hey, listen, he's busting his behind. You need to get in the kitchen and do X, Y, and Z and take a nap after you finish the bento or something, or just go to work and just, that's just part of the course. So it's on a spectrum, but remember, their spectrum is different from ours, where waking up at 4:30 in the morning, make your husband's lunch is darn near slavery in America. But here I wouldn't say it's an expectation, but if you want to be a wife, is kind of sort of part of the thing you're going to bring to the table to make sure a guy wants to be with you.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this vague for all parties involved, but I know a particular woman at my place of employment. She's of Asian descent. I don't think she's Japanese. I've been wondering if she's a tiger mom. Very bright, like you described, very bright, very on top of her game in our workplace. But you could tell that motherhood is very, very important to her, and she takes care of her husband and she takes care of her kids. So it's hard as she goes in the paint at work. You could tell through talking to her that she still very much holds the being a wife and being a mother sacred. Okay. So I was thinking leading up to the stream, I remember one of the postdocs in my postdoctoral lab told me, Dr. Gu, I'll just say Dr. Gu, he was Chinese. He said, "Anwar, you should get you Chinese girl put you first. She'll really put you first." I didn't really know what he was talking about at that time, but as time went on, and I started getting a concept of what that means, and started having some experiences myself, I started to understand what he was talking about. Based upon some of the relationship dynamics that I've experienced, and I'm sure that others watching this and yourself, well, you've been there for a while, but what goes on here? It's very, very different. Okay.
I saw Equalizer. He put a comment. He said, "Are you advocating for fair exchange?" Damn right. Yes, absolutely. If you're getting up and busting your behind, a woman sitting home talking about, you can't tell me to do anything. Hey, listen. How do you cook a breakfast when you're living outside? How do you turn on the heater when you ain't got no electricity in your apartment? Somebody's got to pay for that. If you're paying for it as a woman, congratulations. You're doing basically what every man on the planet has to do to take care of a family. But if you are going to marry a guy and you want access to him and his resources, you got to bring something to the table, man. I mean, point blank, period. And I think in America, we kind of muddied the waters in that conversation. We'll probably get to that, of course, but this idea that just because you were born a certain way, that means that you deserve, that is a very rare concept. Very rare concept.
Well, as you were describing that, I was thinking, and I think I might have alluded to this, these online spaces, these male spaces, they get demonized on the outside, but nobody is asking the question, what does a husband mean anymore? What does a wife mean anymore? I mean, it's talked about here that those are traditionally duties, and now we've kind of evolved into the partner thing, but no one's on the outside is really taking a hard look at what were those roles, how have they changed, did those roles even matter, and what happens
how about this question?
Away, go ahead.
What does a husband get? We know what a husband's supposed to do. We know what a wife gets. What does a husband get? We haven't visited that question in generations, because before, a husband deserved, quote unquote, a young, dutiful wife that saved herself for him in marriage. We've scrapped that idea. Now a husband gets a woman who wants to be his wife. I mean, what does that mean? Like, so we have not asked the question of what is a dutiful husband get in return. And I think the reason why this space is being, Kevin Samuels, the reason why Kevin Samuels is the lightning rod that he is, not was, continues to be, is because he dared ask that question. These are guys that put in work. They're making what they're making. They're in elite circles. What are you going to do for him besides spend his money? And there's no answer. People don't have an answer for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, his name still comes up, even if you're at happy hour,
Mm-hmm.
you don't bring it up. His
Mm-hmm.
name oftentimes comes up. So Black history. One of the other things that you hear is that even years ago, when a man would take on another man's children, he knew that
Mm-hmm.
his wife was still going to perform those duties. She still was going to take care of the
right.
home. She still was going to cook for him. So even then, going back to your question, there was a bit of a trade there. Okay. So he knew, even though I'm taking on these 4 children that aren't mine, I may get some more of my own, but she's also going to take care of the home and
That's right.
do other wifely duties. So different times, everybody, different times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're working our way through here. So listening to your content, it sounds like we're kind of like me growing up. You're kind of studious and well-mannered, and if you were into the sciences, then you were a smart guy, right? Did you fit in?
I see your double helix by your passport. I see it.
Hey, because you said you want to talk some science, so that's why I left it out there.
Oh man, organic chemistry gave me fits. I'm a chemistry dude, so anything inorganic, like just the periodic table. When the first time I saw it, it was probably my first girlfriend, to be honest with you. Like I just would look at it and just think about, oh, it's like a puzzle pieces, and it just made so much sense to me, right? So, studying chemistry and realizing that the atoms work particular ways because of where the loose electrons are and how much they want the extra electron, or how willing they are to give up an electron based on where they are on the periodic table. That was fascinating to me in high school. So I was just attracted to chemistry. So.
Okay, so with you being a science guy, science guys have a reputation. I always had an aptitude for it. I wasn't. You had your dad there. I didn't have mine, and I was pretty shy. Where did you? Because even in the Black community in the United States, even at a young age, you start triaging into, are you are you an athlete? Are you the guy with the swag and the charisma? Are you a little bit more of a nerd? Did you start to fall into a specific silo when
take a wild guess?
Okay, so we are kind of.
I played sports. Sports. I was a pretty good sportsman, but 5'7". What I'm going to do? Basketball, football? Absolutely not. What's left? Science, math. I mean, I had my dad coming home from. I mean, my dad was take me into his office. He had math prints. You remember the Shams workout, the books.
Sounds vaguely
He would.
familiar.
It's like the study books that help you. It gives you like worksheets, whatever. And he'd bring the books from wherever, and he'd say, "You're going to do this today during summer vacation." And I mean, shout out to my dad, man. I mean, my dad had my summer vacation, but he had me busy, but I just learned to like math.
Okay. If you feel like sharing this, did your mother and your father have a good relationship, or?
Of course. And this actually leads into kind of the overall topic of the conversation. My mother passed away when I was 15, right? So that was a very eventful year for me, because I basically saw kind of like the perfect. I mean, I essentially say that we were kind of the Cosby family. Like, people saw us that way. My family, like, they saw us like as like a real life Cosby family, right? I mean, my dad is he has multiple degrees, and we go to Disney World, and when we come to church, we're all together, and I got the suit and tie on, and I'm doing the Benjamin Banneker speech on Black History Month. And then when she passed away, I kind of saw the world around us, and specifically my father, change drastically. And for him to get into a position to recreate that, it was extremely difficult to find a woman that would cook 3-4. I mean, she cooked every day, let me be honest, while she was working, and cook Thanksgiving and all of that stuff, and go from that to just chaos. It spoke to me. Like, it spoke to me as if what I thought was normal was far from it. And I couldn't help but I could not avoid seeing it everywhere around me, that nobody knew how to cook. Girls were turning up pregnant in high school. Guys all wanted to be rappers and dancers and basketball players, and nobody wanted to be, the person they were telling us to be. And that's what started my journey, the question asking at 15, like I said.
Okay, that was going to be one of my next questions, was did your mother work as well? But it sounds like she did. So she did.
Yes, she did.
So she took those wifely and motherly duties very seriously.
That's right.
And somewhere along the line, I don't know if it was the silent generation or the boomers, those things, I don't know. They started evaporating into the air. Okay.
Yep, that's right.
And if you change the environment, you're gonna change the results ultimately. Which is,
if the environment is telling young ladies the opposite of, I mean, what did the Bible tell us about marriage? Save yourself from marriage as women, right?
yes.
Like, and now you have an environment that's basically telling women to do the opposite, and now you have this whole movement of women talking about they're going back to abstinence, and it's like, what's the point of being abstinent now? Like, you're 45, you basically gave what you should have given to one man who would care about you, to a variety of men, and now who's it, Maya, bragging about being abstinent 7 years? That's what the Bible said. Just wait till you get married and be with him. But that's the environment. That's the environment telling young ladies that you can do all this stuff and everything's going to be okay, because it's not. But it's it is what it is. It's the environment.
The other thing is, if you change the environment, and also if you stop teaching certain things, if you stop teaching being a wife and what that role entails, and the importance of that role, and even just the importance of bearing children, if you stop teaching that, then it's gonna go away. And from a lot of what I've heard, I wonder sometimes if the women in our elder generations, if they didn't like where their station, and if they started teaching, don't get your education, don't worry about being a wife, don't worry about doing those things, just get your education and you'll be fine. And some of the fathers too, but that's speculation at this point.
Well, I think we're on the tail end of that now with this kind of push for was it a DEI, if you will.
Yeah.
So now it's not just about you getting a job at a workplace. It's about you being really good at something that's necessary. It's a whole different ball game between I have a job and I can live the life, and I have to be competitive in a competitive field so that I can continue to keep my job. I think that that's what the conversation that many, I guess, silent generation women didn't really have with their daughters, is that it's not just enough to just show up and get the job. You're going to have to continue to educate yourself. You're going to have to compete against not just other people in your field, but people around the world to keep your job. And you're going to have to be good at something that's going to require you to work 70, 80 hours some weeks. And if you don't, there's going to be somebody waiting to replace you. That's not the fun part of having a job, but that's part of it. That's how it works. You got to compete. And if you're going to compete in the workforce, that's going to take something out of what you're doing at home. And if it takes something out of what you're doing at home, then basically you're a guy just like me. Congratulations. Let's compete.
Yeah.
Mano, womano.
Yeah. And I think, you know, of the things that Kevin said that infuriated people, women in particular, I think it was the idea that having your degree wasn't enough. It wasn't.
No.
It didn't qualify you. And even saying qualify, you know, I know some people are like, "What do you mean qualify? What do you mean qualify? Who qualify? You know, who determines who qualifies for what? Who deserves what?" But I think the sentiment was, okay, if achievement of a degree was all you need to succeed in life and pair off later on, but that's not the case. Okay.
No. Well, a degree is like a merit badge. It lets people know that you did the official thing to prove that you are someone that understands the professional work environment. But after that, what can you do? Because I mean, I would say, gosh, I took 2 years of friggin' calculus. Like I can't even remember any of it. But me having the degree I have is a signal to people that you were able to do that. But okay, cool. We don't need calculus. What we need is this. What can you do? I mean, that's really what it is. So you're going to have to pick up some books after you graduate and continue studying, which is par for the course for if you're going to compete. And that's the non-glorious part of career or working. Being a career person is the whole landscape is going to be completely different in 6 months. What are you doing to prepare for it? And if you're preparing for it, that means somebody's got to cook your dinner. And if the person cooking your dinner is Chipotle, then you're going to gain some pounds. And then you gain some pounds, and then it's going to be more difficult to date. And that whole cycle where if you're a housewife, or even if you're a career person working with someone and you have a family together, you can plan meals together. People can cooperate with each other. You can eat out less, all of that cooperation stuff that comes with settling with a person. You lose that, and you come home at 8:30 at night. You're tired. You want to eat ice cream instead of eating a salad, and you do that for 2-3 weeks. And congratulations, you're 200 pounds just like I am. Wow.
Yeah.
Somewhat lean 200 pounds.
Yeah. Well, it could be 90% muscle. Yeah. But so having a degree doesn't necessarily make you a spouse or a good helpmate for somebody. It just, I think that got lost somewhere. Okay. Right. So your background is in chemistry. You got to Japan early through an exchange program, and it sounds like you went back. What motivated you to come to YouTube and to start creating your content?
Kevin Samuels. I mean, look. The funny part about it is I used to watch Kevin Samuels and say, I will never do YouTube because I don't think I have what it takes. But when he passed away and I saw that reaction, I was like, oh my gosh, there can't be guys out there still trying to date traditionally in an environment where women are celebrating the conversation he was having. Because his conversation was a really simple one. We as a Black group of people need to figure out a way to do marriage in a healthy way, or we're going to be in trouble in a very short amount of time. And you listen to BGS talk, that time has already passed. But at least Kevin Samuels was trying to have that conversation. And then you just see all of this vitriol towards, what black men have done and black men don't deserve. And it's just like, I can't bear to see the guy that I was at 26 go into a marriage with a woman who's maybe a baby mother, and she had her fun during her 20s, and she's expecting him to be a provider. And it's just a trap. There's no way he can win that. She gets bored 3-5 years in. He's on the hook for child support for 20 years for a kid that may not even be his. And it's just a way to just basically grind productive men into kindling, grind them into just wood shavings. And I can't abide it. I can't abide it. Even if it's one dude sees my video and says, you know what, maybe I need to rethink the way I'm looking at all this, that I've won. Because it's just, there's no bigger tragedy, in my opinion, than a well-meaning guy who has done the work, who has become accomplished, marrying the wrong woman, and her dragging him to child support court, divorce court, and squeezing resources out of him, and going back to the ghetto behavior that killed children in the first place. If she's not going to come to that marriage as a wife, he has to move accordingly. And if he gets a passport, if he dates someone that's a different race, or just whatever he has to do, so be it. But he can't take that productivity and dump it into someone that's not worthy of it. So that's what motivated me to come to YouTube.
Okay. Do you think that there are any let's see, how should I say this? Mothers who already have children that are good, where that can work out?
I think it's possible, but I think in the right environment, and maybe an example would be, like, let's say that you go to, like, let's say Brazil, and it's a country that is Catholic, and they don't believe in the A word. And she was a young girl, and she made a mistake, with a guy, and maybe she didn't think, that whatever, she just made a mistake. Let's just say it that way. But she's a devout Catholic, or she's part of a culture that basically has her understand she made a mistake, and that if she gets a guy, that guy is doing her a huge favor, and she's in almost gratitude to him for the duration of the rest of her life. That can work out, I believe. But if a woman is showing up with a kid thinking that kid is some kind of benefit to you, then she's not. So possible, yes. Probable, no.
Okay. Well, there was a point at which that was, I'm going to tie this back to history. There was a point at which that was kind of normal for a man to come in and take care of my mother has the same father with 3 siblings, and then the other 4 have a different father. I'm trying to say this simply for everybody. So that gentleman, Daddy Wesley, came in and he took care of the first 4, and then he sired the second 4. And so what I'm saying is, I think at some point something changed, where that was good and a righteous thing to do, and he didn't feel like he was being shortchanged somehow by doing that. And then, but again, I think that trade was critical as well, because he got a wife who was taking care of the home and cooking for him and cooking for the children. So it's almost like apples and oranges. Okay.
Hey, how about a woman that can cook? How about that? Like, I mean, that's a big leap. All these women calling domestic work slavery. Can you cook an omelet? Can you? Can you wash greens? Like, can you prep a turkey? Can you do it without watching a YouTube video?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between someone that's done it 20 times and someone that's following a YouTube recipe that's trying to do it for the second time. So food for thought.
Yeah, I'm going to share this anecdotal story just to kind of again give this context. One of my buddies, he's a Gen Xer, and he has a brother and a sister, and his mother, I think she was a stay-at-home mom. His dad worked in the plant up in Detroit, and someone he had met was of the opinion that his mother had given up too much. So the fact that she took care of the children, cooked, took care of the home, that was giving up too much. I'm just giving for the people who are not familiar with this, how families and women of yesteryear, how they're viewed today. That's viewed as having given up too much in terms of their lives. And that's seen as being unfulfilling to take care of a family, to cook and to take care of the home and do those things. It's seen as unfulfilling today. Okay. Okay. So that's what brought you to YouTube. Do you want to say anything about the importance of these online spaces, the Black Manosphere or men's channels just in general, because they have a negative stigma on the outside?
Sure.
Now that you're a man's channel.
Oh my gosh. I remember I found the space because I was looking at like personality disorder content, because I was trying to understand situations I was dealing with. I'll put it that way. And I was just trying to understand, like, why is this kind of behavior there? What I'm doing what I was told. Like I did everything I was told to do as a good, man. And still I was this toxic, oppressive, all of this, whatever you want to call it. And then you find this space where it's other guys saying basically, am I being gaslighted here? Everything on television told me what I was supposed to do. The movies, like the environment around us told us what a good guy was supposed to be. And when you're not that, you're boring. And she leaves because she didn't feel fulfilled. And it's like, well, none of the television shows covered the part where she got up and left because she was bored. Like the Growing Pains didn't cover that. It was dad comes home, he works, wife is happy he's home, and it works out. And then you find spaces, and shout out to, Kevin Samuels, Obsidian. Who else was I listening to? It was a wide variety. O'Shea, and then I found BGS, and it starts making sense. I'm not being gaslighted. There are other guys that are trying to make sense of this mishmash of, I wouldn't say misinformation. It's kind of a dogma that makes men want to be productive. What drives men forward is the idea that at some point what I'm doing is going to benefit my kids, but my progeny, or even just mankind in general. We don't make money to just spend money so that we can have stuff. We make money to grow either our family, grow our community, our race, our country, or something, some kind of shared value, if you will. And that gets lost when guys can't even create a stable family, right? So if you're thinking, oh, I'm doing family wrong, and then you go to another country, like, oh my gosh, he's just going to work and coming home, and he's doing more than enough. And you get in a space like this one, and guys are saying, I came home after work, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, and she's still saying that I'm not doing enough and I'm oppressive. And it is gaslighting. And it speaks to the importance of the space, because when you find another guy who says, I did the stuff I was told, and she left because she was bored or because X, Y, and Z trivial reason, then it adds significance to your experience. And it lets you know it's not me. There's something bigger than me that's causing this. And it keeps guys from just quite simply going crazy, to be honest, because you might think you're crazy if you just double down on, well, let me come home earlier after work and wash more dishes and help more around the house and take care of the kids more. You run yourself into the ground, and she's still not happy. And there's someone on television telling you, well, you washing dishes 3 times a week, you need to be washing them 5 times a week. She's tired. It's like, well, I'm tired too. What about me? And that's the space asks that question. What about what I want? And that's a question that we as Black men have never really asked. And we should be asking that question. What about what's in it for me? That is a question that we have every single right to ask. And it's good in a space like here, we're asking it.
Mm-hmm.
Point blank, period, really.
Yeah. And shout out to Dr. T.S.N. Johnson. And on one of his visits here, he did say that he said, "Hey, some of the conversations in the Black manosphere, they are caustic, and they do get a little testy. But there's I do think men do need a place to gather. It's not necessarily for everybody to listen to, but many of the answers are not in your family, because as you said, I was raised to do the right things, and things went left. I don't know why they went left. I did what I thought was right. I got a job, I got my education, and things went terribly left.
Oh, and you can make a really bad decision with one woman, and it can cost you 20 years of you dealing with your career and having someone that's basically they're a vector pointed in a different direction than you are, and you're battling that at home after work when your colleagues from other cultures are not doing that. They have someone that's there helping them eat healthy food and bringing peace into their lives and nestling into a culture that is conducive to him being healthy. And you're going home to a woman saying, well, I don't care what you did at work. You need to help around the house, and men, and Oprah told me. And it's a mess. And be honest with you, black men that have earned, black men that have become accomplished deserve better. Point blank, period. We deserve what an Asian or African or South American would get if they were in a similar position making six figures. You're making six figures and you're coming home and a woman saying that you're being oppressive because you're not washing dishes. Like, come on. Like, then maybe it's not washing dishes that's the issue. Maybe you should change out the woman. And you have a woman that says, well, I'm tired. Instead of bothering my husband with the dishes, let me just take some of this extra money we have and hire someone and take another problem off the table, instead of making it a problem because Oprah told me it's a problem. So, yeah.
Okay. Oprah. We're gonna get into a little bit of that right now. Before I jump into that, you're familiar with Funky Academic, right?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, he said something interesting on his show one time, which was that if you don't have an intact culture and an intact family, capitalism, I was going to say communism, capitalism will devour everything. It'll eat you up. And I think for the freedmen, the FBA, whatever you want to call them here, I think that's why everything is kind of dissolving. Everybody's getting eaten up because we don't have an intact culture.
You don't have a sanctuary against the changing world outside. You even men need a sanctuary, a place where you can be safe and relax and not have to worry about all of the stuff moving around outside. Because if you don't have that, then how are you going to replenish yourself to go back out into that blizzard that is modernity and do what you have to do to continue to have your place and exist? If you don't have any family cultural roots to kind of ground you, how do you keep it up? And the truth of the matter is, we're trying to figure that out in this space. How do you keep it up when marriage is almost an afterthought because people are doing everything that you do in marriage before they get married, and then they're getting to marriage thinking that that's a retirement plan. And if it's that, then you're part of the blizzard that's coming into the safe spot of many men's houses and basically making their life more complex, more difficult, right?
Guys, if you have questions for Passport OG as well, I appreciate everybody commenting. But if you have questions there, I'm almost at the end of mine. Okay, let's talk about your content and messaging. I mean, I've nicknamed you the GOAT for your clean, funny, and
Oh,
insightful videos,
stop.
but also the volume. You crank them out every day. One would assume that as you call yourself Passport OG, that you're here to strictly encourage the creation of Passport Bros. That might be true, but you also give commentary, and this is critical, everybody. You also give commentary on the Black community in the United States and the influence of the Black church, civil rights, feminism, politics, and pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of your core messages is don't be afraid to leave the United States as a Black man. But from your vantage point, what are your core messages?
Well,
is it that things have gotten completely out of control here, or
no? I think it's very possible to have a certain level of life in America, but it's very expensive. So if you're going to have a family in America and you want your kids to be globally competitive, I mean, you're almost going to have to make $100,000 a year out of necessity to get your kids into a school system that's competitive. That's the first part. And then, you know, some of the cultural issues. But if you get with the right person, I think regardless of where you are abroad or at home, you can avoid some of it. But truth of the matter is, I think it's more important to become a global thinking citizen, in that, let's say that you're a Black man in America and you marry a Latino or an Asian, then you have to understand some of the premises of their culture, why a tiger mom is the way she is, and why after you get married, she's not as excited to be physical with you as she was before she got married. It's because in their culture, the roles have changed. You've accomplished the point of their marriage. You've had the children, and the messaging on television telling them that you're supposed to, you know, be getting, you know, a lot of action. I mean, that's a nice plus, but if she's nursing a small child, she's not really feeling all that sexy, and she's really devoted to that kid. So I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying, if you have the chance to go overseas or just see different cultures, you can evolve your mindset. And I think that's more important than getting a passport and going overseas and chasing women is seeing the mindsets around the world and adapting that to ours. Because there are some principles in the Japanese mindset that I've taken in that make me see marriage different, that make me see life differently, make me see work differently. And you don't get that either here or at home unless you're opening your brain or your mind into accepting parts of other cultures that make more, I mean, logistical sense, to be honest with you. It makes more sense. So getting a passport is not going to be a what do you call it? An end all be all. Like, I should know these. I forget a lot of English words because I'm speaking other languages all the time. But it's not going to be a panacea to make you this guy that can, like, I preach learning language over and over and over and over, because when you learn a language, you learn that they have words for some stuff, they don't have words for other stuff, and there's a reason why they don't have those words and don't have those terminologies. Like, they don't have curse words in Japanese. They have words that you really shouldn't say, but they don't really have those words because you don't use them. But in America, you do use them. Heck, in Chinese, you use them. And if you learn that, you understand, oh, this is because they speak to each other this way, and they think of their elders this way, and their superiors this way, and this is how they interact. And you incorporate that into your lifestyle, and America or wherever you choose to go, it's going to benefit you in however you move, right? So getting a passport is not going to make you a global citizen that's aware of your surroundings. It's just going to give you the opportunity to possibly become that. So I would say, before getting a passport, learn a language, learn a second language. You learn Spanish, learn, I would say learn a language that, you know, that's not romantic or a romantic. It's romantic. Yeah. Don't learn a romance language. Learn outside of that, where you have to understand how articles change and how to conjugate verbs differently and how you address elders and which words you say in public. And you're going to, by definition, have to rearrange the way you see the world because you're switching between 2 points of view when you're speaking, right? So getting a passport, you see the different world. Learning the language, you understand it, right?
Yeah. T. Riddler says, he's always got some funny questions. He says, Passport OG, have you thought about returning to the United States to teach, particularly at an HBCU or in a primarily Black school district?
That is a passion of mine, yes.
Teaching.
But if I were to teach in an all like Black school district, it's going to have to be in a place where you have an enlightened group of Black people, and they understand basically that the teacher's right. Not the teacher's right. Get over it. The teacher's in the class with the kid. The teacher says your kid's not trying. Get mad at the kid, not at the teacher. And until we have any kind of environment close to that, I can't do it in the States. I'm sorry. Can't do it. I would love to do it, but I can't have a single mother coming in threatening my college degree because her kid is playing video games all day and not concentrating in class. Instead of getting on the kid and saying, you got to be in bed by 9:30, you wake up, eat your balanced breakfast so that you're going to be ready for, the class in the morning. And if you can't do that, I can teach a class of 30 kids if they're doing that. I can't teach a class of 30 kids even if she's a single mother, she can't get her kid to sleep on time and is questioning the authority of the teacher. So I'd love to, but it'd have to be it would have to be a bubble of kids, Black kids particularly, or some kind of miraculous change before I would.
Yeah, I've pondered that myself. My father is a retired educator, and I saw him go through a lot of that. He was blamed for
absolutely
the students' lack of performance, but that goes back to funky academic. And if you don't have that intact culture and family structure, I mean, everything else just kind of spins out of control for everybody else.
Well, if you don't have a mother or father that can tell you to sit down and be quiet in church, how are you going to tell your kid to sit down and be quiet in class? Right? If you can't tell your kid, turn your cell phone off, sit at the table and study for 2 hours, then how is the teacher going to do it? Like, it's not the teacher's job to make that kid do that. That is your job as a parent. That kid should be able to sit down and be quiet for 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time before they enter elementary school. And if they can't, your kid is already behind Asia. Put it that way. Like, your kid's behind Asia already. The kid's going into first grade and they know their times tables over here. Like, there are kids over here that are, they're doing math prints as first graders, like sitting down doing them. It's this crazy company that you may have heard of called Kumon, yeah. Yes, they are doing that for kids. And if your kid is not, look, man, if your kid can't keep up with a kid that's in Kumon, best of luck to you. Best of luck. And heck, I don't know how many Black parents are even investing in their kids' education as much as you would see in the Asian community. Because if you love your kid, if you love your offspring, you are investing in their education, point blank and period. Because if you don't, this world coming, they will get left behind, period. I see the tragedy of what happened to American education during the pandemic. There are kids that lost 2 full school years of education because of bureaucracy / parents not caring / dysfunction, all of that. They are hopelessly behind. School here was out for, I remember everything got crazy. It was like March, April, May, April-ish. By mid-June, it was like a 2-month period. And they said, these are the protocols. Let's get back to work. Let's go. Competing, and American kids competing against that. Good luck. Hey, I'll go a step further. I guess people know I have a child. I have a daughter. My daughter is, I would say, a little bit above average, and I'm pushing her, but She's average for here, not average for over there. I mean, she was bringing home algebra questions in 5th grade. So if your kid's looking at those little like letter notations in junior high school and saying, I'm uncomfortable with it, good luck.
Mm-hmm. Is your daughter, she half Japanese?
She is.
Okay.
She understands English, but she's too shy to speak English unless she's
Okay.
around people speaking it. So
yes. Okay. Now, in your content, and we're almost at the end here. In your content, you do talk about you do throw in snippets of pop culture and politics, and I did share the Barack Obama video with my family, going to the inauguration by himself. I don't think they got it. I think surprisingly, my mother said it was interesting, and I felt kind of they're black boomers, so I didn't think after I said it, I said, okay, they're not going to get this. Surprisingly, my mother said it was interesting. My uncle, he kind of reverted back to, well, I'm glad Michelle didn't go, and they've been criticizing her the entire time when she was first lady. But what I'm asking you is, a lot of the black people in the United States, we take our cues from the Obamas, and we take our cues from
those are
celebrities.
Tragic
Do you I mean, being in Japan, are you seeing that as well? You seeing that there's this heavy influence of politicians and athletes and entertainers and the Obamas and Oprah and Alice Walker, and go ahead.
Well, I would say it's interesting. I'll give you an example. So if you go back about 3 years ago,
yes,
Naomi Osaka was on everything over here. Like she was in car commercials. She was appearing on television shows. She was just basically on everything. Pops up single mother. And then slowly people start pulling back their sponsorships. She's on television less. Nobody's overtly saying that's the reason why they're pulling back, but she's just not on TV as much because they don't really do that. Like they don't do they're not going to celebrate a single mother here just for whatever reasons. They got their reasons. And so like when you talk about taking cues, in America, they're going to celebrate a Sha'Carri Richardson with tattoos and they're going to say she's a strong woman. And that's kind of the environment of America, which is encouraging more of that. But here, what you'll see is subtle. But if let's say you're a pop star and you get caught in a scandal where maybe you got caught cheating on your wife, they're going to publicly shame you, and yet you're going to lose some sponsorships because there's a way that they want to portray certain things in television, and being portrayed in that way is going to be good for business. So I can see both of them. You're saying like, does it affect? It affects the way the Japanese do it here, and it affects the way we as Americans do it back home. I'm sorry, excuse me. But I mean, the image of Barack Obama not having his wife next, that is, when I say tragic, that is a tragic mistake for black women around in the States, because if you go into that Japanese mother-in-law's household, that Chinese mother-in-law's household, that Latin American man's household, and that man is on his way up, that mother-in-law is going to look at you and say, if my son were the president, would you do that to him? And it's just a tragic mistake, because there's literally no other race of women on the planet that would do that to Barack Obama, literally. And we're celebrating it. That's why it's just a tragic mistake, because it casts a shadow over what a black wife is going to do for her husband. I mean, if Barack Obama can't get his wife to just come grin and bear it for 2 hours, who can? And the answer is, a black man doesn't deserve it. And if a black man doesn't deserve it, then why would any other man deserve it if you felt like on a particular day someone such made you feel bad and you're not going to support your husband? So just a tragic mistake. But
well, I think the Obamas, they yeah, they certainly, a lot of people are taking their cues from the Obamas, which is why that's significant. So her doing that, it basically says, well, it's okay, it's okay. And I think a lot of people will be crushed if, in fact, they do split and he ends up with someone like Jennifer Aniston, because they're the image of them is kind of holy. The image of them together. That's why this all matters. That's why, it says something about respect for that office. It I think a lot of people would be crushed if they split, number one, and also if he ended up with a white woman.
Well, and what is also more damning is if they split up and people start pointing fingers at Barack Obama, then you're basically saying black men need to be Jesus. Like, who do you have to be? If you go into the average black grandmother, the average black, not silent generation, boomer's home, I'll say silent generation, why not? She got 3 pictures on the wall. It's Jesus, Martin Luther King, and Barack Obama. Like, I gotta be which one of those 3? I mean, I gotta be better than Barack Obama. How? Like, come on now. That's a very tall task. So,
yeah, I was at a party. This was pre-COVID. I met a very lovely woman there at a party, a hotel party, and I remember she told me that night. She said, "I'm Michelle looking for my Barack." That always stood out to me, because I think that showed how they, as a couple, how they're viewed as a couple. They're like the black Camelot, the black JFK and Jackie Kennedy. That's how they're what's right about the world and what's right about black love. So
well, I'd ask you, Dr. Dunbar, how many heads of states' wives can you name?
I mean, aside from the U.S. presidents, I can't really name any.
Can't do it. That's the point, isn't it? I mean, it's not about being a power couple. He's the guy. Like, if your job is to go around the room and greet the first ladies or the other ladies of the room and be the woman on his arm, it's kind of your job. So why do you want to outshine? Why do you have to be his equal? If he's the president, okay, you run for president and have your equal on your arm and you be a power couple. Yo, you don't want that? Then what are you asking for? Because I can't, it's difficult to name heads of states' wives outside of Barack Obama. Even now, Melania Trump she's not out there like that. She's in the background now.
No. And I remember telling my mother, I said, Michelle kind of demonizes him. She demonized him in front of everybody, saying that she felt like a single mother. And I said, Mom, that's wrong. And she shouldn't have done that. Well, what's wrong with what she did? I don't see what's so bad about what she did. I said, okay. I said, never mind. Forget it.
In 30 years, they're going to see. They're going to see in 30 years.
Salchi, I think I asked her if she wanted to go to a movie in McDonald's.
Oh, that's
Salchi, you know what? No, I'm joking. I don't remember what I said. I was probably speechless. I mean, what do you say to that when a woman tells you she's Michelle looking for her Barack? I don't think at that time it really registered to me the layers to that. So I just kind of shrugged it off and I think we exchanged numbers, but we never did anything. We never went out or anything. Mm-hmm. But that tells you he was the what they were aspiring to. At least that's the image that they were portraying, and some ladies wanted that. So okay.
I saw T. Riller's comment. I want to respond to T. Riller's. He's asking, you have reservations about having a mixed race child. I thought personally when I was thinking about that, I wanted to make sure I had a child in a culture that was conducive to being productive and safe, and had like, a culture of just something that to belong to. And I think it's unfortunate, but if we could go back to maybe the 1960s Black America, I would have gladly had a Black child where you're going to church, Black History Month, that you're going to mom and dad's, family reunions, you're seeing your grandparents on Thanksgiving and Christmas, you're wearing a shirt and tie and all of that. If we had that, I would have gladly done that, but we don't have any of that. So it's the trade-off is she's going to be she's going to stick out a little bit in the culture here, but I mean, maybe she's going to be the new generation of Rui Hachimuras, or I can't say Naomi Osaka because she's not necessarily of Japan. She associates with it.
Well, you know what? Let's take it back to her. I thought it was fascinating that you said that they kind of slowly kind of turned down the volume on her, yes, and so whatever it was, what she did, they didn't want that. They didn't want to spread that there.
Mm-mm.
And are you familiar with Information Man?
No.
Okay. Well, he's another content creator. I don't think he considers himself Black Manosphere. He's an alpha, and he's part of the Boule. He's in the fraternity, but he talks about current events and current events as it relates to the Black community. He's educated, but on his community wall, he will post pictures, historic pictures of notable Black people, but also Black people from the 1940s and the 30s. Mm-hmm. And it's just like you described. The boys were wearing suits. The women were dressed modestly. They were all in shape. They were all smaller. No tattoos. None of what you see today. No pants sagging. So we used to have across the board a very wonderful community, a wonderful group to live in, and now it's something else.
It's come apart at the seams.
Yeah.
It's come apart at the seams.
T. Riddler thanked you for addressing his question. All right. So we're just about at the end. Well, before we wrap up, what do they value in Japan? It sounds like they value hard work. They value. Mm-hmm. It sounds like men still have men are held in high esteem there. How would you describe Japanese culture?
Well, so Japanese culture is and this is why I get on guys so much about not doing your homework. People come to Japan and want Japan to be America. And I struggle with that my first 5 some odd years. It's not. And if you're going to try and change another culture into being America, then you're just going to walk around complaining. The Japanese are very big on face, right? How you present yourself, how you present your group, how you represent your group. So if you're not going to, you're as an American, you're not going to get accepted as an American, as an outsider. You'll always be an outsider, but there's a difference between being an outsider that they know doesn't understand Japan and being an outsider who they know understands Japan and how they treat you differently, right? So I give you an example. I shouldn't admit this. I really shouldn't, but I was at my desk yesterday and, I don't really have much to do because, they got stuff to do going on. I'm studying Chinese on my desk. I mean, earlier I was studying for Theo's course, I was studying SAA at my desk, right? And people walk by and they say like a nice comment like, oh, you're studying? Oh, that's really cool. Because they understand basically when it's time for me to get up and do my job, I know how to do my job, right? And they know that I'm going to represent myself in the school a certain way. I'm going to dress in a certain way. I'm going to do my job. And once you demonstrate that, really, it doesn't really matter so much like the stuff that you do behind closed curtains, as much as making sure that you're representing yourself and your group in a certain way. And once you do that, you have done your job as a quote unquote Japanese person, because a lot of the behind the scenes stuff is kind of grimy, to be honest with you. But people don't know that about Japan. They don't know that Japan has a grimy side, because even the people that are part of grimy Japan know how to present themselves when they're not in grimy Japan and they're in regular Japan. And that idea face of things, I have to present myself and my group this way because that's the way it's done, and I'm not going to break from this tradition, is everything. It's everything. And if you understand that premise, you can understand how the country works. Instead of saying, well, why do I have to? There is no why. It's just the way that it's done. Accept it. So I would say that. And one of the mistakes that Naomi Osaka made was she broke that rule. You don't have a child outside of wedlock as a starlet. They're not going to accept that. Like, all of the grandparents and the people that are supporting all of this stuff, they don't want their elementary school kids seeing a pop star who is a single mother raising a kid in that kind of environment. That's just not. Get married while you're pregnant. They accept it. You get married while you still don't have a baby bump. People just kind of like wink their eye and nod their head and say, okay, we get it. But you have the baby and say, I'm going to be a strong single mother. We can't market that here. Can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So saving face, presenting a certain face.
And when you say, I mean, we don't have to get into deep details, but grimy Japan, you're talking about like prostitution. You're talking about those BDSM clubs. What?
Yes,
yes, and
yes. There's, I mean, look, there are grimy parts of Japan that I can't even get into because I'm a foreigner. But
yeah,
if you know certain people and they know that you know how to act, there are places that you are invited into and you could see grimy Japan, which I have seen. And it was worth studying Japanese for. I'll put it that way.
Okay. One other thing. Now, my graduate advisor, he's Japanese American, and he was telling us that there are real shoguns. The shogun is real, and the shogun makes decisions about who goes. At least in the medical school, that Japanese postdoc, I think the shogun had a say in where he went and how long he was going to stay in the United States. So that's a real person. Okay.
Well, you understand that in order for a structure to work, people have to play roles. And if your role at a certain place is to do what you're told, I mean, you do what you're told and you bite your lip and you grin and bear it, because that's just the way it works. It works better that way. So
okay. Last question. We're at an hour and a half. What are some of the, I think you stressed language, go and learn the language. What are some of the general recommendations you have for Black men who are looking to move overseas?
So I'm sure that I'll get a lot of people that will second this one. Don't go overseas for women. Like, if you're going overseas for women, go to a place where it's easy to get a woman that you can purchase, or go to a place where you can go to a foreigner bar and get a woman and be happy with that woman. And if that's what you're doing and you enjoy it, that's fine. I would say go overseas to become a new person, or a person that adapts to a culture and create a life, and then invite a woman into that life. That's going to work 1,000 times better than trying to make a relationship work with a woman whose language you can't speak. Like, it's gonna be like a flame that burns hot in the beginning and it's going to taper off, as opposed to a steadily burning flame that has a fuel source.
Okay.
I see you put some. Okay.
That's interesting. No, I was cycling through the comments. Jay Bones, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Much appreciated. It's very much appreciated. That's interesting that you should say that. Don't go over.
No.
Strictly,
I mean,
because
you can have a good time,
because that's what's getting all the news,
mm-hmm.
and that's what's drawing all the angst. As I told that story about my cousin, that's what's drawing those feelings of, well, you think you're better, or you think you're going to find something better over there. That's what most people are associating with going overseas as a Black man.
Well, you can find it. I mean, don't get me wrong, especially if you're a man of means, you can find someone to have night fun with. But if you want to find a woman that is going to be, a wife, then you're going to have to know where the wives are in that culture. And there's no way you're going to figure out where they are if you don't speak that language. You can't do it. It's impossible. You can't do it. You don't know the girl that's the librarian who was the little odd nerdy girl who thinks she's not cute, and then she lets her hair down and she's beautiful, but guys are not really looking at her because she's shy. You don't know where she is, and you have to get into the language and figure out where she might be, and meet her and speak to her in her language. And she's not going to be at the foreigner bar. She's not going to be in Pattaya. She's not there. She's going to be somewhere else. The girl you meet there is going to be a girl who's used to saying, okay, I'll give you this if you give me this. And if you fall in love with that, I mean, more power. God be with you. Because that first year might be amazing, but you got 19 after it, raising that child together. How's that going to be? And I don't think guys are thinking about the back end, because 20 years, it takes 20 years to raise a child. And you got to be thinking about year 19 when you meet her on day one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. So in other words, you have to go and immerse yourself in that culture and learn that culture and not just go to the bars that all the American guys go to when they, I was going to single out Austin, but I won't do it. Austin,
look,
but I won't do it. Go ahead.
If you want to see America, just go to Okinawa. Go to the hip hop bars in Okinawa, or the bars near Yokosuka in Yokohama. You'll feel like you're in America. It just got Japanese girls there. Like you'll be in America. So if that's what you want a Japanese girl that's got a BBL, you can find it there. Is that what you want? I mean, because if it is, she's there, but she's gonna be listening to Sexy Red. So you want to raise a child with her? Okay, good luck with that. So if guys get off the beaten path and do the work, then you're going to become a global citizen, like I always talk about. And it's very difficult to make a video about that because people not really care about it that much. But being a global citizen is just realizing that girl has a dad, and that dad wants her to be a wife and not just a plaything. And if he's a man of means and you impress him, he'll be more than happy to have you marry his daughter. But if you're coming over saying where the girl's at, he's going to shield that girl away from you, and you're going to end up getting the girl that's the bar girl instead of the girl that was raised to be a wife. And there's no way around it. You might by chance meet her and marry her and all of that, but you're going to have a better chance meeting her if you just take the first year or two that you're doing whatever you're doing, figure out what language you're speaking, and then move through the language or the culture where you are as such. And then you're not meeting the girl at the bar who speaks English because she can speak English to any guy that comes down there. You speaking whatever language to the young lady who doesn't necessarily meet foreigners, and maybe you're the first foreigner she's ever met. And you're dating her not because you're an American foreigner, you're dating her because you met by serendipity, right? I think that's the difference that guys have to understand. If you want a certain type of relationship or an experience, then you're going to have to do something that the average guy going where you're going isn't doing. So that said, my next girlfriend is going to be, I did the video on her. What's her, Dabao? Yeah, man. I'm going to get her. No, I'm joking. But okay. I'm learning Chinese so I can speak to her.
Okay.
So
So to those listening who might be sensitive to such an analogy, not to subjugate women, but that almost sounds analogous to, going to the port city and getting something Americanized versus going deep into the country and finding the authentic food that the people of that country eat.
Well, if
Yeah.
anyone that's been in the military can tell you, like once you pull in a port and you go to the certain spots, there are certain girls that are just waiting there for you. They're waiting there. And you know that those are girls you can have a good time with. But any of the guys that tell you that they married those girls that they met at those spots, like 3-4 years in, you hear the stories. And the stories are of things getting thrown around in the house and yelling and just things that are not conducive to raising a healthy family, right?
Hmm.
So if you if
You
you
know,
if you're leading with what you're looking for, you can find it. Just don't confuse it with something that's conducive to building something down the road.
yeah. You know what intrigued me that you posted on your community wall? Thurgood Marshall's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Thurgood Marshall has, I think she was what, she's Hawaiian or Asian. She was Asian,
She's Filipino, I think.
Filipino. Okay, okay. That well, I, what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that to be, I know that certain parts of history are played up. Certain parts are kind of turned down. Like Dr. Claude Anderson, he was turned down. When Dr. Martin
Mm-hmm.
Luther King was shot, what he was working on and became concerned about, that was kind of downplayed for other things. But
Mm-hmm.
that was my first time seeing who Thurgood Marshall's wife was. I didn't know his wife was Asian, which is
Mm-hmm.
funny in context of what's happening today. Just like I know for some people it caused a lot of heartburn. The woman that James Earl Jones married,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Reginald Lewis's wife, Loida, I think she's Filipino, certainly
Earl
Asian.
Woods,
Earl Woods, yeah. So there are quite a few
Dave
guys.
Chappelle.
Is he married to an Asian woman?
He's married to a Filipino, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Okay,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but Thurgood Marshall, for I don't know why I was surprised to see that.
Well, and it was his second wife. So the question you have to ask is, he went from his first wife, who was of the same persuasion, to a wife that was not.
Okay.
And there was something happened between the beginning and the first and the second one where he made the decision. He didn't tell us why he made the decision, but the decision speaks for itself, does it not?
Yeah.
Just saying.
We are not going back. Shout out to
Well,
Kamala.
yeah. Oh man.
We are not
Yeah,
going
yeah.
back.
Yeah, I appreciate talking to you, Doc. It's if you don't mind me asking, what discipline are you in? Are you in bio
Yeah.
tech or
So my bachelor's degree is in general biology, and my PhD is in
biology?
pharmacology.
Oh
And I have
God. Oh,
some extra
pharmacology. That's
training.
cool.
Yes, I have some extra training in toxicology. My postdoc was
Okay.
in toxicology, so I work in a toxicology capacity now.
Nice.
Though listening to Theo talk, it sounds like I might need to hunker down and learn some coding or something.
Yeah,
Get ready
man.
for this AI economy.
I ran into Theo and I said, well, it's not my top priority because I feel it almost necessary as a guy living in Asia to learn Chinese, but I'm gonna peek my head and I'm gonna, see if I can't get swept up in the current. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I did
Yeah.
not like biology in school. I did not like that. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
anything biology, boy.
yeah, it's more like early on, it's more learning facts, and then
Yep.
the quantitative part comes in gradually, and then once you go into graduate school, then you better know how to you know make up your solutions and calculate the optical density of your protein solution. You got to know
Mm-hmm.
the quantitative side, because that's how you publish everything. Everything has to be quantified. Everything
Mm-hmm.
has to be published. Statistics have to be run on everything. So yeah,
And
gotta know some math.
well, and we're talking Black history, and I think this is a really important point. Is I saw Club Shay Shay, like the first interview he had is a stripper turned rapper, and you just see this endless list of comments about that was her past, and they're celebrating this, and our culture does not celebrate scientists. Like
No,
Dr. Dunbar, you should be celebrated. You should, there should be little kids in your church doing speeches. Say, I want to be like Mr. Dunbar. I want to be like Dr. Dunbar, instead of doing twerking. Because literally, that's what my church was when I was growing up. It was that. And then we entered the 90s and it just kind of fell apart, right? Like we should have had that. We don't.
well, a couple things. So it's the black culture in this country. You know, as a man, BGS has talked about this. You have to, you know, wear a certain uniform, and depending upon where your station is, and that's something that me and Kevin talked about when I met him. I still remember the story. You know, he was surprised that I didn't know what fine dining was. Okay, because my family didn't really do. We didn't do fine dining. We didn't go to 5-star restaurants and spend, you know, $70 or $80 a head. And certain things as a man in our community are rewarded. You have to know how to dress. You have to know how to smell good. You have to know how to convey a certain sense of style. Those things are rewarded, not simply your degree. Your degree can help, and that's one of the things that I said in my that live stream where I gave Kevin his flowers, is that on both genders, I think one of his messages was your degree is not enough.
No, degree is not class.
No, it's not class.
It is not.
And it doesn't convey a sense of style or how to put the right fragrance on. And I said that. I said that at Michigan, I love telling the story. My graduate advisor, the one I told you about, who was Japanese American, I remember he would, and if he sees this is just, I'm telling the story. He would get a pair of sneakers and he would wear those sneakers until they were damn near falling apart.
Yep.
But his culture, it wasn't have 10 pairs of sneakers. It wasn't go over your sneakers with a toothbrush to make sure they're powder white. You know, if that wasn't the culture. But that's our culture. You know, make sure your J's are looking good. Make sure you got the waves
for Jordans.
The waves. You got make sure you got the Gucci sweater, and that's our culture.
Yep.
You know. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying. Obviously, you know, when you achieve, you know, a certain amount of wealth and income, your lifestyle should reflect that to some degree. I mean, not in a reckless way, but there are certain things that are rewarded in our culture, the culture that we have here in this country.
Yeah, it's like it's an upside down culture where the guys that are at the bottom of the culture are not only the most celebrated, but they're actually sought after, much like gladiators almost. Like, was there a story of the DA in Atlanta she was having a relationship with a guy that was running the streets, and she got caught up, and she like that should not ever happen. Like, how does that? You went to 10 years of college and then you're with this guy. Why? And the question she's going to say, well, there's nobody on my level, but really it's this celebration of the culture of the men at the bottom, when the boring man at the top, who basically goes to work and reads books and does whatever it takes to be important, is not celebrated. And then you get this loud chorus of voices from the bottom saying y'all ain't nothing, and the guys that are doing something are just like, let me just kind of sneak away from this craziness, because it's just craziness.
Yeah. So in many instances in the culture we have in this country, stable is boring.
It
Stable
is boring.
is budgeting your money. That not wanting to get involved in drama when you come home. That's boring.
Mm-hmm.
Too much silence, too much peace is boring.
Oh, I mean,
So
even if you get a
that's
taste
why
for,
that's
but
why a lawyer or an attorney would end up with a pookie.
I mean, look, if you're a guy and you're an attorney, do you really have a half an hour to blow your wife's back out? Do you? Do you have the energy to do that after a day's? She's got to understand that. Like, she got to understand, like, look, my job is not as a husband to do that. My job is to make sure that our kids are competitive. And I make sure that your life is a eventful one that is as soft as we can possibly make it, and we retire together. Boring, yes. Safe, comfortable. Isn't that better than what's coming? Because what's coming is not safe and comfortable. It's not. And a lot of women are going to learn that the hard way. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. That safe and comfortable is cool when you can't pay $2,000 a month for rent and rent's going up. You're about to find your adventure. Adventure is waiting for you in 2025. Independent women, welcome to manhood, because that's all you got. That's what's waiting for you. I mean, manhood is waiting for independent women. You see Donald Trump cutting all this stuff out. They're howling because they know, be good at my job or I get cut. I get cut and I got to figure out a place to stay. Which is life of man. Good luck. Best of wishes to you.
Yeah. Well, one other thing, going back to what we were just talking about, I think the parents have a role there too, to say, hey, look, this is the type of guy you should gravitate towards, not the Pookie and the Ray Ray and the Jamar Quavius, but that guy over there. He's not necessarily the most flashy. He's not necessarily, and he can learn those things, but he's gonna be stable. He's gonna provide. He's gonna save his money. You want a guy who's gonna save his money, not blow it all. That's the kind of guy you want. And I think in a lot of homes the ball is being dropped there. But then again, you could also argue that, okay, a good father would do that, and fewer houses have good fathers in them. So
well, there if you've been to Asia, there are families right now. I've been in this country for 2 decades. There are families I can marry into right now, and they would cut their daughter completely off just because they want their daughter to marry a certain type of guy. We don't have that culture in Black America. We welcome anyone that will come into our family, but there are families that if you do X, Y, and Z, we will cut you off. We will disown you from the family and act like you're not part of it. I've seen it. And that's how you avoid your daughter marrying Jarquavius. You want to be in your grandfather's will? Don't marry him. Don't get caught with him. But we don't do that. Jarquavius, you had a baby by Jarquavius. Now it's time for a real man to step up and raise another man's child. No. There's only one culture playing that game. It's not and the culture that's the ones left over playing that game, few and far between these days. That's an old game. That's for the 60s. That's not for 2025. Yeah.
Okay. One last question, Passport OG. Then I promise I'll let you go. Japan, is it true that Japan, in terms of their population, they're facing a population crisis, the one that's forecasted for the Western world now?
Yes,
so there are more older people.
Yeah,
there.
Absolutely. It's true. If you go to if you go out in the daytime, you can kind of see it, like going to the bank or going to the supermarket. There are a lot of elderly. It's a very old country, and a lot of this comes from the boom after the war, right? After the war, a bunch of people had children, and it was an agrarian society. So a lot of these kids either grew up working in rice fields or close to them. And as you know, Japan's economic rise came, people just have fewer kids. But because people here are so healthy and they eat so well, a lot of people are just aging and not passing away, right? But yeah, it's true. And there's schools that are getting joined or closing down, and people are dating differently, especially after COVID. And COVID just it changed complete. It overhauled behaviors. So yes, it's old. It's unfortunate, but it is. I mean,
so when you
Japan
say
has their issues, but
when you say it changed dating, how did it change dating?
okay, so a good example is, you know how Japanese people wear masks, right?
Yes.
So generally speaking, you wear a mask when you have a cold because you want to make sure that you don't get anyone else sick, right?
Yes.
But let's say that you're a shy girl and you don't feel good about your appearance. Now, instead of wearing a mask when you're sick, you just wear a mask because it's an extra way to kind of hide yourself from the world and be more reclusive, right? There's a growing number of young girls who simply wear a mask every day. Summer, winter, sick, not sick. That's just part of their uniform. And they're very comfortable with going to the mall. They have their headphones in, they have on a hat, they have on a mask. You can just see their eyes if they're not wearing some kind of sunglasses or whatever, and that's their uniform. And I'm saying that's a substantial group of young ladies who aren't even trying to be social when they go out. That wasn't really there before coronavirus, right? And that's a new part of the culture, right?
Wow.
Introverts, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Passport OG, we're at about.
I've enjoyed talking to you, sir.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say? Any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, I look forward to your next content and see what you're going to do next. And you should also shout out your second channel, your science channel.
Oh, dude, I have a couple of those. But yeah, since Passport OG mentioned it, I do make that announcement over here. But since I'm here with somebody of like mind, everybody, I do have a STEM channel. This is it. It's the same name except it says science on the end. It to me, well, I am a scientist, so it's fun to talk about that stuff. But I understand that it's a specific niche.
Oh, look at those
And
noble
I want to have a Q&A with Theo. I have to get him over there and just kind of talk at a high level about what he's doing and why he's doing it and what he had to learn. But I do have a science channel, everyone. So please give that a sub. I mean, we don't Shannon Sharp and Ocho parroting Kevin Samuel's points, that's going to get a lot of organic views. Mm-hmm. So I don't talk about that stuff over there, so it's a little more challenging to grow. Speaking of which, before you go, what did you make of that? That was another instance of Kevin's talking points. Well, hold on, no. Shout out to Doug. I don't know if Doug is here. Those Kevin came under a lot of criticism, and many say, okay, well, those weren't his talking points. The points were here before he got here. But Shannon and Ocho said things that were very reminiscent of what you would hear on Kevin's show.
I mean, we all have to deal with the inevitabilities of, we want to start relationships. How do you do it in this environment where it's getting more difficult? And it leads back to Kevin Samuels. It just leads back to that same conversation. Where the wives, they want the producers, they want guys that are producing and have their act together. What are they bringing to the table? And what those two guys are basically telling you is, in their experience, they're headed right back to the same question that Kevin Samuels was asking. Here's the man of means. He's produced. What are you going to offer him that another woman cannot? And it just points right back to the conversation that this group of men over here is having. And I do want to salute you for. There are two groups of people. I don't lament people for not showing their face, but I think that there's a certain risk that comes with showing your face, and you have to temper your content because of it.
Yes.
But I do think it's important to show even the younger guys that we can have conversations that are about things more than just how big her behind is, and raise the level of consciousness in just the kind of topics we're covering. We can talk about science or living overseas or the economy in a way that's not necessarily just, the base, how can I make money or how can I get girls, but like as a community of Black men that are going to, have our say in the next election or whatever we're going to do in the future. We can have conversations that move past the base level conversations that you often hear that go viral. Because if you're a young guy and you're turning to, Black content, you're going to see a lot of content about sex and women and getting girls and music, but you're not going to see so much content about, guys talking about stuff that's a little bit less sexy. And I think I will salute you in that it takes a certain amount of courage to say, I'm going to put my face on camera and talk about certain things. And especially when you have an advanced degree and you know that your career. So, Dr. Thunder is another one. You know that you have to temper your commentary, but it's commentary that needs to be had. We have to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's one of the beautiful balances of the space, is that guys that hide their faces can say the things that we can't say, but we can show people the content that they're saying because they're free, because they don't have to be, burdened with the fear of being outed, and they can say it freely. And that balance is really beautiful to see in the space, because we need it. We need the guys that can say the stuff that we can't say. We also have to present to the world that there are some guys that are saying, hey, listen, we are conduits to this greater conversation that's being had over here. Like a greeter. Kindly make your way down the hall, turn right, and there's BGS Zipmo. Oh, look, turn left, and there's Mr. Z Black in Effect. Turn right, and there's, there's Green Gorilla. All right. And I think that is important, because otherwise it doesn't seem like anything except some random guy on the internet that's speaking without a camera, until the guys like us say, oh, no. You need to listen to him because he's saying stuff that he can't say in front of a camera, but you need to hear it. That balance.
Yes, you just said a lot there. Yeah. So I think I definitely did learn, the hard way that, when you have a day job and you're on camera, you do need to be a little bit mindful of what you say, because some people will even go and look you up and dig up what you said, and sometimes you forgot. And I think every conversation isn't for everybody. So I think shout out to Edward. I do believe in the Fight Club analogy. What stays in Fight Club should stay in Fight Club, and everything's not meant for everybody to see. And I think whatever part of this discussion regarding what's going on with Black America and gender, some of the politics, some of the pop culture, it's going to be uncomfortable for some people to hear, and you have to be prepared to take some slings and arrows. And you may get some smoke out in the real world, but you definitely have to be careful. I think one of the I think I asked him about this. I forgot what he said or how much detail we went into, but if you're going to talk about these things and you're with somebody, your partner has to be okay. Well, it can cause problems. I'll say that it can cause problems. So his wife must be okay with him talking about what he talks about every day. Angry man, his wife must be okay with him going hard in the paint that the way that he does. Sometimes about relationships, sometimes about Black relationships. But not every significant other understands that, So I appreciate you saying that, but it's a mixed bag.
Well, but I would say, first of all, it's important to have some things that you are willing to stand on as a man and say,
that's true.
This is so important that I'm willing to take the hit, because if my legacy is I said some things that people didn't like, and so be it, but I had my chance to say it. And the other part is, if you look around at our culture and where we are, you got to say something. I mean, going with the flow is not it. it's not it. Something is really, really wrong in our culture. It's really, really sick. And to pretend that it's not sick and we should do business as usual it's not being fair to the people who are looking to us for honest direction. Because Steve Harvey is doing more harm than good. He knows it, but there's so much money in it. He's willing to do it, but the next Steve Harvey is not going to be possible because we're going to watch Steve Harvey get taken down by his wife. And people are going to say, dude, are you serious? This dude married this. He married who? And now he's here. And he was no. I don't trust you. I want to get better information. And it's worth I think for me, it's worth putting my face on camera and saying whatever I'm saying, if it means that some guy who's out there trying to get a beat or a bearing on where he is, saying, oh, he's not trying to sell anything to me. He's not trying to get me to, pay him money for something. He's just saying, here are some guardrails. Here are some things I'm noticing. Take heed of this and act accordingly. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have hoped that someone ahead of me would have done the same thing.
Okay. We, before I read the super chat, I was going to say another part of this. And I know I probably beat this like a horse, like a dead horse, but in a lot of our families, yeah, the boomer generation, they look around the holidays and they say, oh, there are no young children here. And it's important to tell them, look, this is a different world. In your era, having a child in a nuclear family or just having a child that was seen as sacred. Now children are seen as burdens. Okay. Now there are ladies who see those as hindrances to their traveling and to their whatever it is they want to do. It's a completely different landscape than when you guys were young. And that causes a lot of problems in families.
Well, some women see babies as paychecks. I mean, if you're a guy who's accomplished and you're making money, you're a target. And that baby becomes a way of extracting resources from you. And man, that child support court was not a worry of our grandparents, but it's a worry for us.
Yeah, I think the boomer parents, I think they were the inflection point. They were the first crash test dummies for no fault divorce.
That's right.
Yeah, and some never recovered. We have another super chat. Rugby Jesus, thank you for this $4.99 super chat. Rugby Jesus says, do you guys think the popularity of KS led to an increase of conservatism among black men? So did Kevin start a black male MAGA movement?
I mean, but MAGA's not doing it a favor. I mean, MAGA's not being fair to conservatism because he's not really a traditional conservative. But the truth is, black people have always been socially conservative. We are very conservative socially, especially black men. Black men that want to have a nuclear family, go to church, raise their kids in an environment where their kids are productive. That's all conservatism. It's just we have a party structure in America that's not really conducive to supporting one party over the other. But you talk to my grandfather, he's about as conservative as you can get. Work hard, save money, like live by the law, read your Bible, and Second Amendment included.
Well, I've also heard it used to be that if a girl turned up pregnant, they would send her down south. They didn't want her around. Maybe they didn't want the other girls to see it. They'd send her down south. She'd disappear, and no one would really know what happened.
Or they'd say, it's time for y'all to get married. You did it.
It's time for y'all to get married. Shotgun marriage.
Pony up. Shotgun marriage. Yep.
Okay. Aquateki, thank you for the Cash App. Let me play I have a special salute here for Aquateki. You're a Gen-Xer, so you probably know what this is yourself.
Talk to me, will call me, anything. Hello, Earth.
Oh, Jazz.
Jazz. Scatman Crothers. Yep. Yeah, Aquatechi's avatar is Jazz. So I played that for him. I forgot on the last science stream, Aquatechi, my bad.
Well,
Everybody.
we're conservatives. I think we're just seeing a return to black men trying to protect some level of black masculinity and the black family, because there's a blizzard outside, and it's just, you can't protect this culture from itself. You got to build a sanctuary from it. And I think that's where this, I mean, you could call it a rise in black conservatism, but the Democrats don't have any answers. They're talking about, all things considered, I do not want my son to be Zaya Wade. I'm not trying to say anything wrong about that situation, but that's not what I want for my son. And if that's what Democrats are preaching, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Sorry. No. What else do you have? It's got to be something else. Is there any other choice? And the MAGAs are saying they got a choice. So that's what we got in America. We got the MAGAs, and we got whatever they're doing with Kamala Harris and that. So those are the choices.
That's the other intriguing thing about this environment and just where things have gone and that's that where our people they were traditionally conservative, but also fearful of a racial boogeyman. And many of the black boomers were staunch Democrats, vote Democrat. The Republicans, they're for the rich, they're for the white people, they're warmongers. And at some point, I think the Democrats said, okay, well, we can usher in all these other things, all these alternative lifestyles.
That's right.
All of these, and they'll still vote for us, which most of my family does, even though they may be secretly opposed to it. They're still seen as the party for black people. Okay. Yep. And the Republicans are seen as the party for white people, and they're seen as a party of racists. So it is fascinating to see this transition happening.
Well, which is more important? You want to have a family and deal with conservatives in the White House, or you want the new age family, which is this kind of mismatch of it's something, but it's not something. And people want what they understand, what they know. And what we know is mom, dad, kids going to school, paying attention, and being able to have kids whose gender we can recognize. And it's not this list of 70 some odd genders, which is getting longer by the day, and nobody can understand any of it, where it's going.
Yeah. And folks don't want to talk about that Obama was the one who turned the White House rainbow. They don't want to talk about that. He was the one who ushered in a lot of these things, because he's Barack Obama. He's the Messiah.
Well, he's supposed to as the liberal president, but I mean, how did that help? It's not really helping. That's not helping the black struggle. I mean, great, congrats for them, but black families have been under attack for several decades. And what do you have, Democrats? Nothing. All right, well, maybe the MAGA's got something.
Yeah. All right, everybody, Passport OG.
See, I'm gonna mimic your scarf. I might try that fashion this week.
What's the temperature over there in Japan?
Oh, it's cold. It's still cold now.
Is it?
Yeah. We had a big snowfall. Fortunately, I didn't get it where I am, but I'm not much of a scarf guy, so I might mimic your scarf in the front. And,
this is,
and the beanie to the front. I always wear my beanie to the back.
Okay, yeah. I
get my Dunbar swag on.
I like spring and winter and fall because I get to wear these accessories.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, hey man, we have to do it again sometime.
Yes, sir.
Thank you again for your hard work. And Isada, she's here. She says he made some great points. I think she's referring to you. Okay.
Oh, arigatou gozaimashita.
Say that again.
I said arigatou gozaimashita.
Arigato.
So
Okay, I'll
it's
try.
strange. You say the past tense for thank you. It's kind of strange, but that's what let's say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have to do it again, and thank you
Yep.
for all of your hard work and what you do every day.
Yes, sir. And I look forward to your next presentation, Doctor.
Okay. Yeah, I have one more guest that I'm working on for this month, and yeah, I'm gonna write this theme for the rest of the month. So okay. Well, thank you, sir.
Best of luck to you, sir.
All right. Same to you. Everybody, Passport OG.
Happy Black History.
Happy Black. Yes.
Well, Cameron's
All right. All right, everybody. I'm gonna wind things down here. That was Passport OG. I'm sure all of you all know who he is, but if you don't know, check him out. Give him a subscription. Let's see. Yeah, I'll do this one more time. After 2 hours, my book is available on Amazon. The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story. It's a basketball story, but it's a manhood journey, and it involves many of the themes that we talk about here in the quote unquote sphere, in the space. I'm adjacent to the space. We just talked about that. On Amazon, it's you can get the ebook, the hardcover, and the paperback on Amazon. On Amazon, this is $35. The paperback is $27. If anyone wants a signed copy, I'll take $10 off of this, so it's $25, and $7 off of the paperback, so it's $20. Just use one of those payment methods there, and you have to send me your mailing address so I will know where to send it to. Okay, that was a mouthful. Okay, Akuteki said, great stream. Thank you. I hope everybody got something out of this. It actually went in some directions that I thought it wouldn't. I thought Passport OG's outlook on moving to other countries, when you think about moving to other countries in terms of being a Black man and having a passport, Austin Holloman gets all of the press. So you think it's younger guys like that going and pulling up and turning up, but Passport OG's viewpoint on it was much more balanced and kind of it was much more balanced, much more grounded. It wasn't about going somewhere and partying things up and just having a good time. It was about going and learning the culture, learning the language, getting to know the people, get involved in the communities that you're going into. So it was a very different take than what we normally hear about. Anyhow, Salty just posted. What did you just post, Salty? Let me click on that. Oh yeah. Thank you, Salchi. Thank you, Sal. Sal shared the Amazon link to my book. So you can see I'm not bluffing. I'm not lying. That's it on Amazon. But if you want a discounted signed copy, yeah, use one of those methods there and send me your mailing address. Brent Clemens, if you're watching this, I'm waiting on a new batch to come from Amazon, so yours will be on the way as soon as I get it. So anyhow, everybody, thank you. I'm going to wrap this up and get something to eat and wind this down. Thank you to everybody who came and hung out. If you're watching this on the playback, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are in the description box, and you can also leave a super thanks. And with that, everyone, have a good night, and I'll talk to you the next time. Once again, I am working on another guest, not from the sphere. He was on YouTube at one point. Now he has his own platform, but I'm working on that. And when he confirms, I will make an announcement. So with that, everyone, have a good night. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Remember, here it's Black history. It may not be the Black history that you like. It may not be the Black history that you want, but it's Black history nonetheless. the less. Bye-bye.